Have you ever met someone who felt like your mirror soul, like they held a piece of your very essence, only to realize they're already married? This kind of connection goes beyond ordinary attraction. It's as if the universe itself conspired to bring you together, only to place an impossible barrier between you. If this resonates, you might be grappling with the twin flame phenomenon, a bond so intense it blurs the line between love and destiny. But what exactly is a twin flame? Unlike soulmates who complement us, twin flames reflect our deepest wounds and highest potential. They ignite transformation, often through chaos. Carl Jung, the pioneer of depth psychology, didn't use the term twin flame, but his work on the anima, animus, and shadow work explains why these connections feel so fated. They force us to confront parts of ourselves we've ignored or suppressed. So what does it mean when your twin flame is committed to someone else? Is it a cruel twist of fate or a hidden opportunity for growth? Let's explore Jung's wisdom to uncover the deeper meaning and perhaps a path forward when love and destiny collide with reality. The concept of twin flames, though not explicitly defined by Carl Jung, aligns strikingly with his theories about the unconscious and the journey toward wholeness. At its core, the twin flame dynamic is less about finding a missing piece outside ourselves and more about confronting the fragmented aspects within. Jung called this process individuation, the lifelong work of integrating our conscious and unconscious selves to become complete. When we encounter someone we identify as a twin flame, we're often meeting a mirror of our own unacknowledged depths. This person reflects back to us not only our brightest qualities but also our repressed shadows, the parts of ourselves we've disowned or ignored. In this sense, the twin flame serves as a catalyst for transformation, compelling us to face what we've buried and, ultimately, to grow. A critical element of this phenomenon is projection, a psychological mechanism Jung explored extensively. We don't fall in love with the twin flame as they truly are. Rather, we project onto them our own unconscious ideals and unresolved longings. This is why the connection feels so electric and fated. It's as if we've finally found the other half that makes us whole. But Jung cautioned that this is an illusion. The intensity arises because the other person embodies qualities we've neglected in ourselves, whether it's creativity, vulnerability, or even darkness. The twin flame, in essence, becomes a living symbol of our inner work. When they're unavailable, especially when married to someone else, the pain is acute not just because we lose them, but because their absence forces us to confront how much of our identity we've tied to them. Jung famously said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." This is especially true in twin flame dynamics. The relationship is never just about love or companionship. It's an alchemical process that changes both individuals at a soul level. But here's the paradox. The more we cling to the idea that this person alone can complete us, the further we stray from the true purpose of the connection, self-discovery. When a twin flame is married to another, the universe isn't punishing us, it's redirecting us. The obstacle becomes the invitation to stop seeking wholeness in another and to begin the harder, more rewarding task of finding it within. Jung's work reminds us that the most profound relationships are those that turn us back toward ourselves, demanding honesty, healing, and the courage to stand alone before we can ever stand together. This is why the twin flame journey, especially when fraught with impossibility, often follows a pattern of awakening, turmoil, and eventual release. The initial phase feels like destiny for a reason. It is calling you to something, but not necessarily to union with the other person. The magnetic pole is a signpost pointing toward your own unmet potential. Jung's framework suggests that the only way out of the suffering is through introspection, dismantling the projections, reclaiming the disowned parts of yourself and recognizing that the twin flame was never the destination, but the mirror that showed you the path. The discovery that your twin flame is married to someone else often unleashes a storm of emotional and spiritual turmoil unlike ordinary heartbreak. This isn't merely about unrequited love. It feels like a cosmic betrayal, as if the universe dangled the promise of completion before you, only to snatch it away. The pain cuts so deep because twin flame connections bypass the usual defenses of the ego, touching the rawest parts of the psyche. When the person who mirrors your soul is bound to another, it doesn't just wound your heart, it shakes the foundation of your identity. You're left grappling with existential questions. Why would life bring us together if union is impossible? Is this a test, a punishment, or a cruel joke? The crisis that follows isn't just emotional, it's a spiritual emergency, forcing you to confront the very nature of desire, destiny, and your place in the grand scheme of things. From a Jungian perspective, this agony is no accident. The twin flame's unavailability acts as a merciless spotlight on your own unresolved wounds and unfulfilled aspects. Jung taught that what we most crave in others is often what we've suppressed or failed to cultivate in ourselves. If your twin flame's marriage feels like an unbearable loss, it's worth asking, what part of me have I outsourced to them? Their presence might have made you feel alive in ways you couldn't alone. Perhaps they embodied your stifled creativity, your untapped courage, or your capacity for intimacy. Their absence, then, isn't just the loss of a person but the exposure of a void within. This is the paradox of the twin flame mirror. The more they seem to complete you, the more they reveal how fragmented you truly are. The suffering, in Jung's framework, is the soul's way of demanding that you stop seeking outside for what can only be found within. But the dilemma isn't just psychological, it's deeply ethical. Twin flame theory often glorifies the idea of destined love, but Jung's work on shadow integration insists we confront the darker implications. If your twin flame is married, the spiritual rhetoric of meant to be can easily become a justification for obsession, entitlement, or even moral trespass. Jung warned that ignoring the shadow, the unconscious, often uncomfortable aspects of our nature, leads to self-deception and harm. In this context, the shadow might include the refusal to respect vows, the romanticization of suffering, or the belief that love transcends all boundaries, including others' autonomy. Karma, in Jung's view, isn't mystical retribution but the natural consequence of failing to align actions with integrity. The married twin flame scenario forces a reckoning. Do you prioritize your own longing, or do you honor the web of existing commitments, their spouse, their family, your own moral compass? The answer isn't about sacrificing love, but about discerning whether your yearning is truly for the other person or for the unclaimed potential they reflect. This is where the twin flame journey transcends romance and becomes a crucible for maturity. The pain of their unavailability, when examined through Jung's lens, is an invitation to redirect your energy inward. The real union isn't with the twin flame but with the parts of yourself you've neglected, the creativity, passion, or wholeness you believed only they could ignite. The ethical path forward isn't resignation or rebellion, but radical self-honesty, to love them, if you must, without demanding possession, and to recognize that the highest purpose of this connection was never to secure a partner, but to awaken the sovereign self. In the end, the married twin flame dilemma isn't a dead end. It's the universe's fierce mercy, showing you that the love you sought was always yours to claim, not from them, but from the depths of your own becoming. The revelation that your twin flame is bound to another is not merely an obstacle. It is a profound summons to evolution. This painful juncture forces a reckoning with the self that few other experiences can provoke. Where ordinary relationships might allow us to remain comfortably unconscious, the twin flame dynamic shatters illusions and demands transformation. Their marriage becomes the fire that burns away superficial desires, revealing a more essential truth. This connection was never about possessing another person, but about awakening to the parts of yourself that you had forgotten or abandoned. The anguish you feel is not punishment, but the necessary friction for growth, the grinding of the soul against its own limitations. In Jungian terms, this is the call to individuation in its rawest form. The unavailable twin flame becomes the ultimate spiritual teacher, showing you through absence what you must learn to provide for yourself. Their very unavailability is the condition that makes your wholeness possible, for it removes the temptation to lose yourself in another and compels you to finally confront the work of self-reclamation. Yet this path is fraught with perilous crossroads, none more dangerous than the slide from sacred connection into toxic obsession. Jung understood that what we call fateful love often masks something far more complex brewing in the collective unconscious. When we fixate on a twin flame who belongs to another, we risk becoming trapped in what Jung called a participation mystique, a dangerous psychic entanglement where boundaries dissolve and reality distorts. The twin flame narrative can become a siren song, luring us into believing that no other connection will ever compare, that destiny demands we wait, fight, or suffer indefinitely. But Jung would caution that this is not enlightenment. It's possession by an archetype. The image of the twin flame becomes a psychic vampire, draining your life force while promising transcendence. True spiritual maturity here means discerning between the call to grow and the trap of obsession. It requires asking, is my longing for them actually a disguised longing for my own unlived life? The difference between detachment and obsession is the difference between spiritual awakening and spiritual bypassing. One leads to freedom, the other to self-created hell. There exists, however, a sacred alchemy available when we redirect this potent energy. The intensity you feel for your twin flame is not meant to languish as unrequited longing. It is creative life force awaiting proper channels. Jungian therapy would suggest this is precisely the moment to turn inward with fierce curiosity, to explore active imagination, dream work, or depth journaling. What if the magnetic pull you feel toward them is actually your own creativity begging for expression? History's greatest art, music, and literature often spring from such sublimated longing. Alternatively, this energy could fuel your own psychological excavation, perhaps through therapy that examines your attachment patterns, childhood wounds, or why this particular soul triggers you so profoundly. The spiritual path offers another way, meditation practices that help you hold this love without attachment, or shadow work that reclaims the projected qualities you admire in them. The married twin flame becomes irrelevant in the best possible way, not because the connection wasn't real, but because it served its ultimate purpose, to lead you back to your own depths, your own gifts, your own capacity to generate the light you sought in their eyes. This is how divine love operates. It uses human hearts as portals to something far greater than partnership. Your task is not to wait for a door that may never open, but to recognize you stand already in the cathedral of your own becoming. The ultimate spiritual paradox emerges here. By releasing the demand that your twin flame fulfill you, you honor the connection more profoundly than any physical union could achieve. Their presence in your life, even from afar, becomes a sacred reminder of your soul's journey rather than a prison of unmet longing. This is what Jung meant when he spoke of carrying the tension of opposites, holding both the truth of your connection and the truth of your separateness without collapsing into despair. The married twin flame is neither mistake nor punishment, but the exact condition required for your next level of awakening. Their existence in another's arms forces the kind of painful self-confrontation that comfortable love never could. And when you finally stop asking why you can't be with them, and start asking what their mirror is trying to show you about yourself, you'll discover this was never about them at all. The cosmic joke is this: The love that felt like home was actually the road, and the destination was always you. The most radical and transformative approach to the twin flame dilemma lies in embracing Jung's concept of individuation, the lifelong process of psychological integration and self-realization. When faced with the heart-wrenching reality of a twin flames marriage, the healthiest response isn't to fight fate or drown in despair, but to recognize this as your soul's invitation to stop seeking completion in another and begin the sacred work of wholeness within yourself. Jung warned that our desperate attempts to find our missing halves in others only perpetuate cycles of projection and disappointment. The intense magnetism you feel toward your twin flame isn't proof that you belong together. It's evidence of the unintegrated aspects within you clamoring for attention. Every quality that mesmerizes you about them, their creativity, depth, passion, or wisdom, is actually a disowned part of your own potential waiting to be claimed. This separation, painful as it is, creates the necessary space for you to stop looking outward for salvation and start cultivating these qualities within. The path forward isn't about winning them over or resigning yourself to loss, but about becoming so complete that their presence or absence no longer determines your wholeness. However, the spiritual seeker must beware of a treacherous pitfall Jungians call spiritual bypassing, the tendency to use lofty concepts like destiny, past lives, or cosmic contracts to avoid facing painful realities. It's dangerously easy to twist the twin flame narrative into a justification for obsession, convincing yourself that their marriage is just a test or that the universe will eventually bring you together if you just wait long enough. This is not enlightenment. It's escapism dressed in spiritual garb. Jung cautioned repeatedly against using metaphysical ideas to avoid psychological work, emphasizing that true growth requires brutal honesty with oneself. Are you honoring a sacred connection, or are you addicted to the drama of longing? Is this really about soul evolution, or are you avoiding the hard work of building a fulfilling life without them? The married twin flame becomes a mirror for your shadow in this regard. They reveal not just your unlived potential, but your capacity for self-deception. The most courageous question you can ask is, what if this situation isn't a cosmic love story, but exactly what it appears to be, an unavailable person who's triggering my unfinished business? Practical Jungian tools offer concrete ways to navigate this transformative period. Journaling becomes a powerful ally, especially what Jung called active imagination, a dialogue technique where you converse with aspects of yourself and your twin flame archetype on paper. Write letters you'll never send, ask uncomfortable questions, and pay attention to the responses that emerge from your deeper wisdom. Another potent method is dream work. Since twin flame dynamics operate largely in the unconscious, your dreams will often provide clearer guidance than your waking mind. Keep a dream journal by your bed and look for recurring symbols, encounters, or emotions. Therapy, particularly Jungian analysis or depth psychology, can help untangle the projections and childhood wounds that make this connection feel so faded. Shadow work, the intentional engagement with your denied traits, is especially crucial here. Make a list of everything you admire about your twin flame, then ask, how can I cultivate this in myself? Equally important, note what triggers or upsets you about them. These likely point to your own shadow material. Creative expression, whether art, music, writing, or dance, becomes essential for transmuting this potent energy into something life-giving rather than destructive. The key is to stay grounded in the present while doing this work. Fantasies about future reunion only delay healing. Each time you feel pulled into longing, ask, what practical step can I take right now to honor my own growth? The paradox is this. By fully releasing the need for any particular outcome with your twin flame, you create the possibility for the most authentic connection, whether that's a transformed friendship, peaceful coexistence, or loving release. The ultimate goal isn't to forget them or stop caring, but but to reach a place where your sense of self no longer depends on their role in your life. This is how alchemy works. The lead of heartbreak becomes the gold of self-realization. Jung's most profound lesson here may be that the love which feels most faded is often the one that forces us to confront our deepest fears of abandonment, unworthiness, or incompleteness. The married twin flame doesn't appear in your life to fulfill you, but to show you where you're not yet free. Their greatest gift isn't their presence, but the liberation you find in their absence. Every pang of longing is an invitation to dig deeper, to love more fiercely, not them, but the neglected parts of yourself they helped you discover. This is how soul contracts truly work, not by guaranteeing romantic union, but by ensuring you'll face whatever is necessary to remember your divine wholeness. The peace you seek won't come from changing your circumstances, but from changing your relationship to yourself within these circumstances. When you finally stop asking, "Why can't we be together?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me about where I abandon myself?" you'll discover this was never a tragedy, but the most masterful spiritual curriculum your soul could devise. The twin flame journey, especially when faced with the heartache of their marriage to another, ultimately reveals a profound spiritual truth. These connections are not about claiming ownership over another soul, but about surrendering to your own evolution. What initially feels like a cruel twist of fate often proves to be the exact conditions needed for your growth, the sacred friction that polishes you into your most authentic self. Through the lens of Jungian psychology, we come to understand that the intense magnetism of the twin flame dynamic serves one primary purpose: to mirror back the fragmented parts of ourselves we must reclaim. Their presence in your life, regardless of circumstances, is not an accident, but an assignment from the soul, calling you to stop searching for completion in another and begin the courageous work of self-reconciliation. As Carl Jung so wisely observed, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This is the golden thread running through the entire twin flame experience, not the romantic fantasy of perfect union, but the sacred opportunity for self-realization. Your twin flame's marital status, in this context, becomes irrelevant to your spiritual journey. What matters is not whether you can be together in the conventional sense, but whether you can transform this connection into fuel for your psychological and spiritual awakening. The pain of separation, when approached with consciousness, becomes the alchemical fire that burns away illusion, leaving only the pure gold of self-knowledge. Now we'd love to hear from you. Have you experienced this kind of profound connection with someone unavailable? How has it shaped your journey of self-discovery? Share your story in the comments below. Your insights might help others navigating similar challenges. If this exploration of Jungian psychology and twin flames resonated with you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more content that bridges profound psychological wisdom with life's most complex spiritual questions. Remember, the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you cultivate with yourself, and sometimes, the greatest loves are those that inspire us to finally come home to who we truly are.